Welcome to Reduce Your Stress with Tim Ringgold. I'm a board-certified music therapist, author, and expert on how to use music to relieve stress fast. This podcast is sponsored by McConnell Music Therapy Services, Inc., where they believe in the power of music to transform people and communities. Based in Northern California, their board-certified music therapists support people of all ages and abilities within hospitals, schools, corporations, and communities using music experience to connect, express, and de-stress. Visit them at mcconnellmts.com or their Facebook page, McConnell Music Therapy. This episode of Reduce Your Stress with Tim Ringgold is also sponsored by Dr. Nisi, trainer and certifier of master and executive coaches, because she believes every person, every relationship, every business, and your finances should be extraordinary. Find out more about Dr. Nisi Moore and the Life Coaching Institute at www.drnisi.com. That's DRNEECIE.com. Hello and welcome to another episode of Reduce Your Stress with Tim Ringgold. It's so great to be with you, and I'm so glad you're here. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, this podcast. Happy birthday to you. Yeah. That's right. This little podcast of mine turned 1 year old this week. What a year. 33 tracks of music and 22 interviews later, here we are at the ripe old age of 1. Given that half of the 2 million podcasts in existence have fewer than 14 episodes, turning 1 is an accomplishment. And I could not have done it without 4 key people. My wife, Angelique, who suggested it. My colleague, Chris Millett, who helped me produce this past year's episodes. And my 2 sponsors, Tara McConnell of McConnell Music Therapy Services and Dr. Nisi Moore. We kept this tiny ship afloat, and 12,000 downloads, 91 ratings, and 61 reviews later, we're still here. There's another person I couldn't have sustained this without, and that's you. If I had been 14 episodes into the podcast and saw like 0 downloads, I would have stopped. I'll be honest. But the fact that you are listening to this, I see that metric on my end each week, and it keeps me going. You know what else really inspires me though? When you take a moment and reach out through whatever means is easiest and comment on an episode or on the pod. This past Sunday, a dear friend reached out over text to say, quote, "Love sacred spaces. Wow, I could have that on repeat all day," end quote. Thanks, Phil. Phil's also a musician and a darn good one at that, so this was high praise. And I'm not going to lie, it was inspiration fuel for this very track, because I thought as I was recording this one, wait until he hears this. That comment made the experience real for me, the experience of creating music that actually touches another human being. So if you want to send the podcast a little birthday present in the form of a review, whether it's on Apple Podcasts or social media or over email or a text if you got my number, it would mean so much to me. And thank you in advance. And thank you for being here. Okay, on to the music. Now, there are weeks when I am wrestling with a track to come out, but this was not one of those weeks. The only fighting done in the studio was trying to figure out how to replicate the sweet tones of my new Fender amp without the buzz that comes along with it. I'm learning a new recording software called Logic Pro, and I figured out how to recreate the sounds inside the software. But not just any sound we're talking about here. This week, we're talking about the sound of a Fender Stratocaster guitar. This is the first time on this pod I've used an electric guitar. And this baby is on loan from an amazing neighbor of mine named Scott LeBounty while my Gibson is in the repair shop. A Fender Strat has an iconic sound. Just cue up Little Wing by Jimi Hendrix or Sultans of Swing by Dire Straits. There, I just dated myself. Anyhow, I plugged Scott's guitar straight into my new amp the other night without my pedal board, and out came this gem that you're about to hear. And it was inspired, yes, once again, by pickleball. I played in a tournament on Sunday, and you know it never rains in Southern California, right? Wrong. It rained Sunday morning, and the final day of the tournament was delayed by, 5 hours for my bracket. However, once the rain departed and the clouds lightened up, the fun resumed. Now, this tournament was at a tennis center, and I was at this same tennis center for a pickleball camp a month ago during a tennis tournament, right? And the vibe at the tennis tournament couldn't have been more different. It was quiet and serious and still. Not Sunday. As I rolled in, there was a massive PA system on the roof blaring rock music over all the courts. It was like a concert festival with 4 players on every court playing away and people under tents all around, and there were 31 courts. The vibe was awesome, and in a word, fun. Even though it was a competition, the vibe was still fun, which is what I love about this sport. So, as you listen to today's track, first imagine the peace that follows a storm, that freshness that hangs in the air. Then imagine the freedom you felt as a kid when you were finally given the green light to go outside and unleash your pent-up energy. And I'll see you on the other side. Thanks so much for checking out this episode of Reduce Your Stress with Tim Ringgold. I've got a couple of resources for you, which you can find in the show notes or you can listen to right here. So check it out. If you enjoy the sound of my voice and you enjoy the sound of my guitar, imagine them put together. Go to sonicrecovery.com and take your very own relaxation vacation, where I take you out of the stress of the present moment and back in time to a time when you felt happy, healthy, safe, and sober, and then walk you through that memory so you can bring back those feelings into the challenges you're facing today. So go check that out. It's at sonicrecovery.com. If you're a healthcare worker in recovery, check out the Music in Recovery Self-Care Guide for healthcare professionals that I created just for you. That's at hcp.sonicrecovery.com. And if you're a healthcare worker and you'd like more information about how to help your patients use music, you can check out the Music Medicine Guide that I created just for you at musicmedicineguide.com. Lastly, if you enjoyed the pod and you haven't done it yet, would you just take a minute to rate and review it? It really only takes about 60 seconds, believe it or not, and it would go a long way to help us make more people know just how good this pod is, particularly for healthcare workers and their stress. Thanks again. See you next time.